Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, author, and investor Frank Gruber, and joined by entrepreneur, lawyer, and investor John Guidos. After each having successful startup exits, these two college friends cover a wide array of the latest trends and topics in tech, startups, investing, entertainment, and life. You'll notice they like to live life to the fullest with lots of adventure and believe in celebrating those important wins along the way. The podcast is produced with the help of Established, a strategic consultancy focused on corporate innovation, entrepreneurs, and the ecosystems that support and elevate them. Now it's time to be somewhat frank. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to the Somewhat Frank podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, your host. I'm joined by my two compadres. I've got Mr. Johnny Guidos. Johnny, how you doing?
Great, Frank. I'm happy to be here, buddy. I'm happy you're here too. We're excited to get this going. It's been a bit. And we got Jen, can solve all your problems, Consolvo. How you doing, Jen?
Woohoo! Happy to be here. Sun is out. Sun shining.
Sun's out. You're right. Feeling warm, but it's not. It's windy up here in
Literally,
Maine.
the wind sounds like a train going by.
It does. We're getting a lot of snow up here. It snows and melts. What have y'all been up to? It's been a bit. Johnny, you go first.
Well, happy to be rolling into spring. It's about 70 degrees here today in central Indiana. As you both know, I've talked to you. It's been we've been sitting by the edge of our pants here, or edge of our seat rather. We got some Polish chickens for the spring, so we're going to be getting some new eggs this year. Pretty excited about it. For those that don't know, Polish chickens are the ones with the floppy hairdos, kind of look like surfer people.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, we wanted to do something a little different this year, add to our flock. So we got a few chickens, and as babies can be a little scary and have health issues here and there. So they're currently in the foyer, and we're giving them triple filtered water or all organic feed. So they're doing well, but it's a little stressful around here.
Seems like they're doing well because they're now getting the upgrade here with the nice water and the food and everything.
It's like a spa,
spa day.
Johnny Spa.
Yeah,
we keep saying these chickens won the lottery, so they're gonna live a good life if they make it.
Sounds like it. Jen, how about you? What's new?
Oh gosh, unpacking. So even though we moved like a month ago, or maybe it seems that long ago, I'm not sure how long it's been exactly. The unpacking extravaganza just never ends, and
no, it really
it's
doesn't.
and every day it's something new and exciting. So that's my joy.
It's kind of like Christmas every day because you open stuff up and you find new things you didn't know you had.
So yeah, some boxes are really like, oh, you open it and you close it because you're like, nope, don't want to dive into that right now. And then others, like last night, I decided I'm going to start opening up all the artwork because you can tell by the shape of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so much fun because it was like, oh my gosh, I forgot we even had this one because some of these it's been a while since we've seen. So that was really fun.
Yeah, some have been like 4 years, right? Like some are Las Vegas move, and we hadn't unpacked, forgotten it. So that's exciting. I'm excited about that stuff too. But we took a little break in there too. We went on winter break and went for a long weekend down to Florida, southern Florida, and something really interesting happened while we were down there. I wanted to share it here because it's kind of fun, and I thought it would tie into some of the things we've been talking about. So. We did a walk on the beach, which is nothing new, but this particular walk on this particular day, we saw lots of sea urchins, those like pointy ones that look like I don't know, just like burrs almost, like in the ocean. They're bigger and you don't really want to step on them. They're sharp. Anyway, they washed up on the beach. I had never seen so many in one time washed up on the beach. So that was kind of an interesting thing to notice, but also lots of clams, like live clams, like a lot more sea wildlife, I guess you could say, or sea life up on the edge of the shore than usual. And a lot of the live clams, they go up there and they kind of like jump back, like try to wiggle their way back to the water, or like bury themselves into the sand and then pop back up after every wave as we're walking on by the beach. But there was one particular shell, it was like bigger than the other clams, and it was like wiggling kind of like the other clams. And So we're like, whoa, that's the biggest clam we saw. So we went over and looked at it, and it was only like half the shell you could see, and we flipped it over. And really, to our surprise, on the other side of the clam shell, hiding inside, clinging to the sides of the shell, was something that resembled a small alien. Well, it wasn't an alien. It was a baby octopus. And it was a really interesting. I've never seen an octopus in like the wild, first off, or secondly, a baby octopus. So it was quite interesting, other than, seeing it on TV or whatever. So or in like the aquarium. So that was kind of cool. And first time I've ever seen that's happened. And I posted a little video of it on my Instagram at Frank Gruber if you want to go check it out. And it's pretty cool, and just a really interesting experience to see a baby octo in the wild. And
it was so cute.
It was really cute. And we obviously we freed it and it was already free. We moved it back to the water so it would be safe. Hopefully it's still alive, kicking out there. But it reminded me that even while you're on vacation, you see everything with like vacation eyes, right? We go to the beach a lot up in Maine, but you don't always look at it the same way. You're just kind of in your routine. And so when you're on vacation, you do look at things a little differently. You notice a lot more new things and than your regular maybe beach walk or whatever. And so it reminded me, when you get home, definitely take a look at things with those vacation eyes more often, and it'll be more interesting for you in general in life. So because you never know what you're going to see. So thought it was kind of fun, and you can check the video out. And I also wanted to tie it into an article I just saw today or yesterday. I remember it was about octopus brains and how now is this new study that says basically they're really interesting, and maybe they're more alien than we previously thought, because they do kind of look like aliens. So I don't know. Did you all get a chance to read that or think about aliens and?
Well, it was
octopus?
actually just more about their brains being pretty complex and more human-like than we think or may have previously thought. And when you see them, for me it was a really good reminder, just seeing the way it was like flipping, like hiding behind the clamshell and flipping it around and stuff. Reminded me
it was acting like it, right? It was acting like
it was hiding. It was like camouflaging itself. And
it's cool.
And it reminded me of that film that a lot of us saw. When was that? A few years ago, the My Octopus Teacher.
Yep.
And ever since I saw that film, like I am going to say that I did, I have eaten octopus in the past, and I just can't ever do it again. I saw it in the menu, especially after seeing that little baby one. Not going to eat the octopus.
No, definitely not eating it. That was really cute.
Yeah, I've heard about that for a while, that they think that octopus are alien in nature or extraterrestrial in origin. I don't really fully understand it, quite frankly, but it is interesting. And it's funny that too, when you read those articles, it immediately says how hard it is to install electrodes in their brain and do all this testing on them. So I think we need to be a little bit more sensitive to that, because it's kind of, to Jen's point, about not wanting to eat them. And when you delve into consciousness and those sorts of things, I mean, if you look at an octopus by itself, it's just one big brain with tentacles on it, right? Or with appendages. So they could be out there having a lot more feelings and thoughts than we even know about. So
they're super smart, right? We saw that in just, if you do get to see them out there in that movie or wherever, just in a special about octopuses, it's like, or octopi, I guess you call them. They are just really smart. They camouflage themselves. They do things to survive. And so the study was new, and it was like a 12-hour study, and they were able to figure out like they are somewhat similar to mammal activity or human kind of brain activity than we expected. So pretty cool stuff. Check it out in the show notes. And let's move on to this hottest topic out there right now, Johnny. And I know this is right in your sweet spot, especially right now. Eggs. We all love to eat them, more than obviously octopus. But why are they so hot right now? They're like $6 or $7 out there on the market, which is way more than usual, and we'll link to the reason why, but when we can talk about it a little bit. But Johnny, you got out of the egg producing business, and now you're back in it. Want to get your perspective as an egg farmer.
Right. So for about the past 2 years, we had some nice egg laying chickens. I gave them away to a neighbor last fall, because I didn't feel like taking care of them through the winter. They're a pet, right? You have to take care of them unless you just want to eat them. But we didn't want to do that. We became so friendly with them. We couldn't eat them. So we gave them away. We got with the idea of getting new chicks in the spring, which we just got. And, we had so many eggs over those 2 years. I mean, I would take them to parties and give them away as gifts to people because, well, one, they're delicious, and we feed them really well, organic and everything, so you know it's going into your body, and they do taste a little bit better than store-bought eggs. The one thing I would say for those of people that are thinking about getting into the egg business or getting chickens for eggs, I don't think it's much cheaper, honestly. I mean, you have to buy, the amount of upkeep that's involved, and you have to buy food for them, right? So I don't know. Personally, I think it's probably a net loss in terms of energy involved and the expense involved as well. I mean, you could get nice eggs and it's a fun little hobby, but if you're doing it to save money, it's probably not the right move. There's probably easier ways to save a few bucks, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. But it seems like it's been a fun little hobby for you. And I mean, the gist of it is egg prices are 70% over the last year, or over, percent higher than they were last year. So a lot of that has to do with the avian flu, right? There was a flu bug that went around and killed a lot of the chickens. And so obviously supply and demand has caused the chicken price or cost of eggs to go up because there's not as many chickens laying eggs. So that's where that kind of came from. But it is kind of wild to go to a place and spend like $8 for a carton of eggs. So anyway, it's kind of interesting how that's been
Well, I will
out.
say what is great is having friends with chickens or neighbors with chickens, because where we live, there are a lot of folks who have their own chickens, and my parents have always had their own egg lady. And I will say it is so nice having a local egg lady who literally will either sell them to you for pretty cheap or even just give them to you, because John, something you've probably learned, right, is they have to get rid of them. They're there every day. You got to get rid of the eggs. So if you drive by our egg lady's house, she's always got eggs sitting out there, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty great.
I mean, it actually became a problem. There was too many eggs, right? I mean, you'd open the thing up and you'd have 40 eggs dumping out, and you can only eat so many eggs. So it was a lot of fun. I don't want to give it it sounds like I'm poo-pooing the idea, but it's a lot of fun, and we obviously got more so that we could have eggs.
Yeah,
they taste great. It's a nice little hobby.
Definitely, it's a lot of fun. All right, so what else is cooking? Not eggs. They're too precious these days, right? But we do have a bunch of stuff going on with the established team and some of the work we do. So I want to just throw that in real quick and then move on to our next topic, which is a little bit startup related anyway. So what do we got cooking, guys? We've got South by Southwest. We're heading back down there for a day of events on March 12th. It's going to be startup events, focused on startups, ESOs, or entrepreneur support organizations, and VCs. And we got a lot of different activities, and you can check them all out if you go over to, I've got a little bit.ly URL. So if you go to bit.ly/SXSW23EST, that would get you there. I think you can also go to est.us/S by XSW. So there's a couple different ways to get to it, but we'll link it up in the show notes. But we've got, it's a bunch of events happening with different panels, discussions, the fast pitch, a lot of live interviews for the Startup of the Year podcast. We might even do a Somewhat Frank live there. We're still working through that detail. It should be pretty fun. And it's going to be a great day. We got the SBA and some of our other folks coming in to talk about some of the opportunities for startups and ESOs, and we're doing an ESO meetup. So if you're a entrepreneur support organization, whether it be a accelerator or an incubator or investor or VC or some sort, join us for the meetup and just check out all of our events that are happening at South by Southwest. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Johnny,
and what number is this?
This
Frank,
is
which number?
I don't know. I've lost track. We started doing
11?
it in 2010, so it might be number 11. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, number 11. So 11 years of doing different types of events during South by Southwest. And excited to head back to Austin. I saw the weather forecast, Johnny. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm really pumped. I've been selling people on this for weeks now. It's going to be in the 80s, I think, when we're down there, and we have a lot of great content, as Frank mentioned. A lot of work's been going into it, but people sometimes overlook these days, like, the fun aspect of things, right? Yeah. Like, we went through a pandemic. We haven't seen people in years. I mean, we're just going to be out there and having a great time, having some good laughs. We're going to have some great cocktails here and there. So I'm really, really excited to see everybody and have some fun.
Yeah, Definitely. Jen, we're gonna miss you this year.
I know. I'm gonna live vicariously through you guys. Be good. No,
I'm
just have
sure
fun.
we'll have you on speed dial. We'll have you on speed dial. All right. We also have another event coming up soon. It's a pitch event. It's coming up in April. So it's for the Startup of the Year program. It's going to be online. And so if you want to check that out, just go to soty.link, link/April 25th or April 25, and then you'll find out more details. We'll put it in the show notes as well. There's going to call out for startups. There's going to be some judges, and they're going to get some feedback, and it's going to be a great little event online as well. So that's coming up as well. We're going to keep ourselves busy the next couple months with those, and we've obviously got a lot of other things in the cooker as well. We'll share more of that later. But speaking of startups, because we're talking about startups, there's trends in startup naming, and I remember like a decade ago when when people were dropping vowels out of names and things like that, and there was an article put out by Crunchbase where they were kind of analyzing names of different things and come to the fact that like most companies now are using single dictionary words, and of course those are harder to find and use, so those are like for fintech kind of companies. And there's just a whole interesting study about what people are doing these days. There's still some cute misspellings, but I feel like you're not seeing those as much as you used to. And there's a lot of any of the AI companies always have an AI on the end. So check out the article. I don't know, are you big namers? I love coming up with names for things.
Yeah, I love it too. And unfortunately, my GoDaddy and Google domain bill comes in every month, and it's crazy because I'm the type of person, I know you're like this too, Frank. When you have an idea, you try to lock in the domain as quickly as possible. And I think that some of the stuff that you're mentioning is just kind of a byproduct of the fact that we're running out of names, right? And
Yeah.
URLs and that sort of thing. So,
Mhm.
unless we keep expanding from .com to .us, et cetera, like, what people are doing, we're kind of running out of options here, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a cool article. Definitely take a look.
Yeah, definitely. Jen, what do you think? You like to name things? You want to talk about your strategy?
I don't think I
Naming
have a strategy. Honestly, I think every once in a while, when you're talking about something, it's usually, I think I'm better at it when I'm not trying.
Mhm.
When you just hear something, you're like, oh, that would make a great name for a startup. When I'm trying, it can be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the one, John, who actually goes through and looks at the inventory of names that we now own, and I'm like, wait a minute, do we really need, sneaker love xyz.co?
Right. Hilarious.
We do need that. Someday it will be hot. But what's interesting, so my little strategy for it is actually thinking about synonyms, right, that you might want to associate with, and then also reverse engineering those synonyms by using a crossword puzzle dictionary. It's an actual thing you can get, and you looking up the crossword puzzle in the crossword puzzle dictionary, kind of reverse engineering what you're trying to say, and then so you've got the meaning of it by figuring out, kind of using that dictionary. So that's kind of one of my little hacks for trying to figure out a name for something if like things are taken or whatever. And it's come in pretty handy over the last decade or so. We've got a lot of domains.
I've actually sold a couple here and there. People have reached out, brokers have reached out here and made a couple bucks, but
Nice.
for those are one-offs. I'm spending more than I probably should,
Same, but it is fun to come up with, especially in that heat of the moment. You're like, oh, we got to get that. It's going to be the next thing.
I have one I've been sitting on for years. I'm hoping someone came close to buying it once, and then they disappeared, but I'm hopeful. I'm hoping it'll be the jackpot someday.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a hiccup. Speaking of hiccups, scientists, I've been drinking these bubbly drinks. I shouldn't be doing that when I'm doing a lot of these live podcasts, but I know better, but I felt like it fit the theme here today. Scientists have figured out they figured out a way to potentially cure yourself of hiccups. So if you're a regular hiccup kind of person, there's a new device that this person, a professor at the University of Texas at San Antonio, he has come up with something called the Hickaway, which is not the best name, I don't think, personally, but I guess it does mean like get rid of your hiccups. But it has I could have alternate meanings too. But anyway, it's a device, kind of like a straw. It's $14, which basically has a small hole at the bottom and one larger at the top and builds, this basically through physics. It kind of helps you level out the breathing, it seems like, and it's like a remedy for the hiccups. It was on Shark Tank, I believe, too.
For only $14.
$14, yeah, and Mark Cuban actually invested $250,000 into it.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah,
teachers everywhere will want them in their classrooms. That's the biggest thing I remember as being a student, and there was like somebody always in the classroom who had the hiccups that just wouldn't end.
Yeah. Yep, totally. But anywho, I don't have the hiccups, but I thought it was fun. So speaking of which, now that company's going to try to probably scale at some point, and there's a really interesting article by Tracy on Tracy Writes, which is a blog by the co-founder and CEO of PlanGrid, and he usually writes some interesting things, and he shares like some tips on scaling your startup from 500 million to 100 million ARR, annual recurring revenue for, and he's got like a bunch of like interesting tips because there's a lot of failure points along the way, and he's scaled companies, so he kind of was like, I'm going to share these out there, and so worth a read if you're out there and you're trying to figure out how to scale your company from a handful of people to 180 people or whatever, in a very short amount of time. And obviously if you do it wrong, it can really cause problems. So he's like kind of giving you some hacks and things to think about as you try to create that growth in a quick way. We've seen companies not do so well in doing that from a cultural perspective, and so I think everything kind of points to trying to figure those out and nail this down so you don't mess up your company. So yeah. So anyone want to jump in with that or thoughts on that?
I just think it's some great, like you mentioned, just some great pointers in there, and communication and effectiveness. Clear expectations are always a huge part of that, which he mentioned. So it's a good article.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish it was as easy as taking it from 5 to 100 million. It seems like a quick some tips and tricks to get you from 5 to 100 million. This is it
right here.
Yeah.
Well,
sign me up.
I think that, startups, if you think about it, most startups, right, are first-time founders,
right?
And you're sort of expected to just scale. Like, okay, I went out, I did this impossible thing, I built this thing, I found product market fit, I've got investment, and now I'm going to scale. And it's like, it is such a hard challenge. And to think that somebody who's never gone through that is just going to nail it, it's really hard, right? So that's where you really need to bring in experience, whether it's bringing those people in around you at the company or having those advisors that trusted group of people that you can go to really help you. But I honestly think that we put so much sort of pressure and expectancy on people to just know how to do something like that, which is just, it's not something that would just come naturally for most people.
Yeah, no, definitely. Go check it out if you haven't already, and hopefully it'll help you along your journey as a startup founder, somebody out there working at a company that's growing. All right, so moving along here, I want to talk about something we didn't get a chance to talk about. We should have done a podcast about it. We were so darn busy with just things in our lives and work that we didn't jump on and do something we wanted to. I know there was that whole spy balloon situation happening last month or so, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. It seems something square in our focal point here on the podcast. So I thought we should bring it up at least and talk about the spy balloons. Is it spy balloons? Is it UFOs? What is it that has been all over the United States? And there's an article from Time Magazine or Time.com that kind of we'll share, talking about what's in the sky. But wanted to get all your takes on this because I know we've talked about a lot of random things before, and obviously this is we definitely talked about UFOs. So we thought this was in our sweet spot.
I'll go ahead. I've been following it quite a bit. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I just, it's just exciting to think that there's stuff out there that we don't know about, or that there's some greater plan out there that's happening that maybe not everyone's in the loop on.
Some say exciting, some say terrifying.
Well, I did have a moment of terror the other day when I thought to myself, if we are being visited by extraterrestrials,
what does that mean?
What that could actually really mean? Like our lives could, in the flick of a switch, we could all, not be living our normal life tomorrow, right? So there is a terrifying aspect of things. This balloon phenomenon, just based off of everything that's been going on, it's been exciting to track. I do think that the amount of, just based off of what the government's telling us, I think that there's probably less to the story than what I'd first anticipated. One funny side story, though, I will tell you, is that I know for years there's balloon hobbyists, right? And I've even looked into this. For a couple $100s, you could fill up a weather balloon, put a GoPro on it, and send it basically up to space,
Right.
where it pops and then it comes back down to Earth, and you have a cool video. I looked into doing that with my nephews. Just I thought it would be something kind of fun to do out in the middle of Indiana, in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Imagine if we would have done that and had some like F-22 Raptors swarm in on
I
it.
think
or
that's
something
what
like that.
I think that's what happened. One of them over
Yeah.
Lake Huron was like, I think it was like a group that really studies the weather. So it was like literally legit weather balloon. Can't remember the name of the group, but it was like a Great Lakes weather balloon, whatever gang or something, like. And long story short, they lost their balloon like a month or so ago, and they lost track of it. So maybe might be one of the ones they shot down. They haven't really made a big stir about naming them or anything like that, probably because they'll get harassed or something. But long story short, there's definitely a lot of people doing that. Just universities, they put up balloons all the time for projects, and I think that could be possibly what it is. But it is interesting that all of a sudden there were like balloons everywhere getting shot down, and no real clear indication as to what they were, other than potentially spy balloons or weather balloons. And potentially they didn't rule out extraterrestrials, though, did they? That's the one thing that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's why it leads me to believe that it's not aliens, honestly.
Right.
And I always, certain things like this kind of disappoint me a little bit, because the conspiracy theorist side of me wants there to be like our government to actually be proactively taking care of stuff like this. And if it is just a balloon, it's kind of disappointing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, the thing that I thought about is like, well, what about, you could use those balloons to like rain down COVID related kind of things from the sky. I don't know, like what can you use those balloons for, besides spying? So it definitely makes it kind of a little bit unnerving that there are these things floating around up there.
It is also kind of funny that, you think there's these clandestine drones that are monitoring every inch of our airspace, and then you find out that there's just some big sloppy like birthday balloon floating over the U.S. that everybody's getting,
right.
Everybody's getting
there's just so
about.
much space. Think about it. There's just so much space. Similar to the ocean, right? It's just so vast. Like I don't know. It's hard. It's probably hard to do, right? Like
Well,
you're not gonna.
Can I tell you who is probably super excited about this whole thing, this episode of balloons and shooting them down? Those pilots, because think about how little action these guys get and how heavily trained they are, and to get that like executive order, like go shoot it down, like it was probably the most exciting moment of their lives. Like I'm going into this like mission, like that's pretty exciting.
It's true. Yeah.
Shoot down this unknown,
Right.
UFO.
There's gonna be a Top Gun about it, probably. Next one, weather balloon. I don't know. Anyway, moving along. It's kind of crazy, and we'll have to keep an eye on those. Keep our eye on the sky. Look out the window when you're flying on an airplane. Anyway, a couple more topics, and then we got to get going here. I know we try to keep these tight. I'm going to bring this one up because I think it's kind of interesting, just because from a real estate perspective, and we always talk about these, like I think we've brought it up before, and just because we lived in Las Vegas for a while, they're finally constructing this bullet train from SoCal to Las Vegas. It's set to begin here and be completed by 2027. It's a fully electric train, and it'll be available to travel 200 miles an hour, and it'll run from like basically Vegas to LA. Apple Valley type places and stuff like that. So it's going to potentially be a game changer for anybody living in either place, because they could literally commute pretty quickly from back and forth.
Super exciting. Part of me is like, believe it when I see it, because gosh, we moved there. What year was that? 2012?
Yeah.
And I remember being so excited because everything I was reading was that they were just about to build this train.
Right.
And I think it was going to start as like this weekend train, right? It was going to run like Friday through Sunday or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. We can like jet out to the coast and, just be in the ocean for the weekends. And nope, never happened.
Happened.
Well, hopefully this actually, maybe its time has finally come.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. But yeah, it does. I don't know. We I don't think about trains as much, other than they've been in the headlines a lot, and all the poor people.
But not in a good way.
Yeah, and all the poor people in Ohio lately that have had to deal with like train derailments and basically ruining their town. So I don't know.
What is it about I feel like the rest of the world has like figured out the train thing, and
Right.
and the U.S. just hasn't. Why haven't we figured out the train thing?
Well,
I don't know.
It's also, I think about this a lot now because I haven't ridden on a train in years, but I mean, for a good dozen or so years of my life, the train was a second thought. I mean, it was just part of my life, right? I rode the train. I rode two trains per day each way to get to work and back from home. It was just commonplace, and nowadays, like, my nephews have never even been on a train, right? So like those sorts of things. But I don't know. It just depends, I guess, on what phase of life you are. I'm a big fan of trains. I'm also excited to see what happens with this electric train. Like, is it just going to be a party, like a party bus, basically from Vegas to LA, or is it going to, what's that going to look like? Actually,
Even the party car with the sparkle,
well, it does,
big light,
right,
disco light.
Well, in Chicago, when we used to commute on Fridays, there was one car that was a party car. Like, there was everybody grab a couple beers and you'd drink them with your friends on your commute home on Fridays. So that did happen. And Vegas is a whole different story, right? I mean, it could be bad.
100%. Well, Sundays should just have an IV and some maybe calming music, spa-like treatments, help you recover on your way home.
That's a good idea. You could, if you could rent one of those cars, Jen, there's your entrepreneurial spirit right there. You could have a spa car. That'd be awesome.
Spa car.
That's a good idea. I like it.
Startup name.
Yeah. Speaking of healthy things like spas and kind of relaxation, there was an article I want everyone to talk about real quick and share. Travel and Leisure put it out. It's an index being put out there by ShareCare, and they did an index on the healthiest states to live in. And so I quickly looked up the states, and let's see, Indiana, and we're in Maine.
I bet
Indiana is not doing so. Yeah, 41 out of 50. Maine is up at 29. Massachusetts is like number one, I believe, and Hawaii is right behind it. So we're not too far from Massachusetts.
So similar, that Massachusetts and Hawaii. They're just so similar.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, you can check it out, find your state, and even find your like locale, like certain area. But they did this whole index on like well-being score, and like it's kind of interesting to see where things are at as we all try to like live our best lives. And it surprised me that Massachusetts did rank above Hawaii, but I guess it's it's got this housing. They look at housing, purpose, transportation, financial, all that stuff. So it's not just like
healthcare access is really,
healthcare access, community, food access, like that thing. Hawaii probably got dinged on food access, right? Because it's an island, right? So I think there's things like that. But New Jersey was number 3, Maryland number 4, New York number 5, California number 6, Connecticut number 7, Washington State number 8, and Colorado number 9. But you can check out the whole study and see which places look interesting to you, and make your own decisions on what makes sense for you. But I thought it was interesting because I always like to see where do we have any blue zones in the United States? Not really, but
we do have one.
What is it?
Loma Linda, California.
Oh, is it really? Okay, so
yes.
California. Huh? Okay, great.
It's interesting because Loma Linda specifically is a Seventh-day Adventist community.
Oh, wow.
And there was a whole special about it. So fascinating.
So community is such a big part of it. So yeah, it is interesting. All right, so moving along, we're going to kind of wrap this up, but I know we always like to talk about things we're like testing or looking at, checking out. And Johnny, good times. What do you want to go with first? You're first on the list. What have you been up testing lately? Anything interesting worth sharing?
I'm continually testing things. I told you this is kind of embarrassing, but I told you about this earlier, Frank. I'm in a phase in my life where I'm now middle-aged, so I've been testing new t-shirts. It's a different cut of t-shirt that you can wear that accentuates and hides other parts of your body as you go into middle-aged mandom. Mm-hmm. So I've been testing out new t-shirts, and I've been getting some great feedback. So these t-shirts have been,
what do you mean it's different cut? Like it's like bigger, or?
Oh, surprised you should ask me that. No, it's oblong shaped in the front and the back, and so it comes up a little bit on your hips. I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but it's the truth. And it's cut a little bit different, and it hides your belly fat a little bit. And as we grow older, we accumulate a little bit more belly fat. and it accentuates your rear end a little bit more. So like I was walking around with one the other day. My wife actually said, that shirt looks really, really good on you. And it's like it's a little design difference. And so that's one thing I've been testing. So for all of our loyal listeners out there, you should look into these middle-aged guy shirts.
I think it's hilarious that you guys think this is like a unique conversation when this is like in world of women's fashion. This is like all you hear. It's like, oh, get this A-line dress because it cuts away from the hips.
Oh boy, I believe it.
All right, Johnny, we're gonna link those up. Jen, what are you up to with your testing or trying out new gadgets or things? We got a lot of obviously home-related things because we just moved. Anything you want to share?
Okay, so this might be a little bit okay.
We're
both oversharing today.
Okay.
So when we had to decide, we had to redo a few bathrooms, and I decided we were going to splurge on getting one of those really fancy toilets, like the kind that it has a built-in bidet, it has heated seats, it glows at night, it has its own light. And little did I even know, or maybe I just don't remember it from the description, like it has auto flush, it has a little remote control so you can open or close the seat without touching it, which is amazing. Like open and close all the seats. So yes, I think it's amazing. And here's the problem though. Once you get used to that and then you go to another bathroom, it's such a letdown. It's like,
this is very cold in all these bathrooms.
The seat is cold. It's like it didn't open for me just because I walked by it. Like, come on.
It's a robo toilet. Yep. That thing is
so fancy.
That's hilarious. Does it play music?
No, it doesn't.
It could.
It probably does.
Really?
I just we haven't figured it out yet. We were still trying to get like used to it, but it is surprising. If you're not ever used a bidet before, that's a surprise.
My 7-year-old did not enjoy it. I thought I said to her, I'm about to hit the button, and she did not know, and it was quite upsetting for her.
Created tears. But if you're not used to or expecting it. That was a unique thing. Definitely agree with you on the testing of that. That's definitely a big one. I've been testing lots of things like that, but I think the one that I was most unique is I gave up the caffeine a while ago and haven't been doing, I do decaf coffees and all that, and I love beverages, so I thought I'd share red espresso. If you haven't tried red espresso, you can make it into lattes and things. It's basically like a rooibos tea, but it's a very specific brand, I guess you could say, and it comes in a little bag, and you can use it like a coffee, and it tastes great, and it's no caffeine, and it's a fun little beverage. So if you're looking for a different style beverage, but decaf version and like coffee related things, you can try red espresso.
And I've been a long time rooibos tea drinker. This is it's like a little bit more intense. So got a little different consistency.
A little more flavor than a little heavier flavor because the rooibos tea is a little lighter because it's a tea, right? So you got it in a bag or whatever, but I don't know. We'll be, me and my beverages. So I like to test these new things out. You put a little bit of mushroom related things in there and it tastes even better. So I think we're at about time. We've talked about all the things. Anybody else want to share anything before we head out?
What could there possibly be to discuss?
I know we've covered the bases today from chickens to science balloons or spy balloons to all sorts of things. So red espresso. That's all I can say. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate you guys being here with me today, Johnny and Jen. It's a lot of fun doing this, and everyone out there have a great day and be safe. And we'll be back soon with another episode for you.
Enjoy South by.
Heck yeah. Yeehaw.
Thanks for listening to another Somewhat Frank podcast episode. Be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, small and large, with gratitude. It will make your journey more enjoyable. We'll be back soon with another episode.